We still got hints of it outside, hopefully for another couple of weeks. We have a meeting next at the beginning of November, and then we have our general policy board meeting starting around next November. We'll ensure that our representatives to the general policy board coordinate our presentations with Justin. Justin, you want to give us a quick breakdown of what happened at the TAC meeting today?
Yeah, so really the presentation that I had lined up here today is kind of a chance for us to reflect on a lot of the different programs and projects that Eastgate's working on right now. This time of the year is generally a good time for that because we're almost mid-cycle getting into December for our fiscal year. So we're halfway through a lot of stuff, or at least approaching halfway. A lot of our communications with our communities tend to quiet down and slow down a bit towards the end of the year, which is nice for us to really kind of dig in and get some work done and not spend as much time in meetings. But really, what I'll go over today is a lot of what showed up at TAC, what our other staff talked about, and then I'll dig into a couple other topics that I think are important to highlight. But I'll kind of go in order here just to kind of show off what some of our other staff talked about earlier today. So kicking it off with the first two bullet points there, the fiscal year 2025 listing of projects with federal funds, as well as the CMAQ applications overview and next steps. So I am not as eloquent as Joey is or well-versed in the transportation funding side of things, but he puts this great presentation together that kind of shows the upcoming projects that we have, and he breaks them out by project type. So you can see the lion's share of what we fund on the transportation side goes to road operation and maintenance. Maintaining our existing system, making sure that our pavement conditions stay at a high quality. Then you see that next breakout, 5% of our funding committed to bike and pedestrian projects, with just shy of a percentage there going to planning and engineering funds. And that's just because of eligibilities for our programs. Planning and engineering dollars sometimes are hard to come across. But all of that kind of comes into play with these individual projects that are on this spreadsheet here, and probably a lot to look at and pick apart here, but I'll make sure that these presentations get shared with the follow-up information. But really this just kind of details, and that project name is sometimes hard to decode, but typically it's the street name with some mile markers maybe for project extents, or where certain kind of spot fixes like bridge preservation projects may occur. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see the sponsor. So that's whose job it is, whether that's an ODOT-led project or a local community, or maybe the county is undertaking that project. And at the very bottom there, you'll see 3 that have Eastgate's name on it. Those are our planning projects. So that's our regional transit planning program that MRTA handles. Then we have 2 programs there, air quality and rideshare. That's mostly what Trisha works on with GoHio Commute, as well as retaining the services of Sonoma Technologies to perform our air quality monitoring and forecasting. So we have air quality monitoring stations scattered throughout the region that are continuously collecting data. We have meteorologists with that firm that are regularly reviewing that data and putting together our air quality forecasts and helping us determine when it's necessary to call air quality advisory days, as well as reviewing the data from the past to make sure we're monitoring trends and air quality behaviors appropriately. This one's a breakout for Trumbull County. So again, you'll see the city of Warren, Niles, Trumbull County engineers kind of show up on this, and there's some of those projects there. But again, I'll make sure that this slideshow is shared so you can dig through the spreadsheet a little more specifically later on. And then getting into the congestion mitigation and air quality program, sometimes we abbreviate that as CMAQ. These are the applications that we've received. And the CMAQ program operates differently than our other transportation funding programs, our other programs like the Surface Transportation Block Grant, STBG, Transportation Alternatives Program, TAP, those dollars actually come through our agency and we can award those dollars to individual projects. CMAQ, however, is handled at the state level. So there is a statewide CMAQ committee that regularly meets to review and score projects and make funding decisions. What we do locally is we help our local communities prepare for that process and we help advocate for them at the state level. So this funding doesn't technically flow through us, but the process kind of works through us in order to get these projects down to the state for consideration.
What does CMAQ stand for again?
Yep. Congestion Mitigation Air Quality.
Now, on the list, you have a Mill Creek Park project there. Maybe it's the bike trail, I don't know. Mill Creek Metro Parks, bike pedestrian signalization upgrade. I mean, all we have on the bike trail is stop signs. Can you explain that a little bit?
To the best of my knowledge, and don't quote me on this too hard, I believe this is areas in the park where there are roadways that cross them. I'm not certain of the specific locations, but just me thinking of areas are like Shields Road where kind of the hike bike trail is split by Shields Road.
Yes.
You've also got like Canfield Road by the mill there.
Yes.
I think this is addressing signalization in those conflict areas to allow access across those roadways. I don't know the specific nature of those projects, what specifically they'll be installing to assist with those. But I believe that is the idea behind it.
Well, you already have a relatively new traffic light crosswalk installation on Canfield Road right by the mill. That was put in a few years ago.
Yeah,
And there's actually a push button there that isn't working properly right now for pedestrians. Now, Shields Road, you have the flashing lights that the motorists see. I believe they're yellow flashing lights on either side of the intersection there of Shields Road and, well, it would be, parking for the East Gulf Hike and Bike Trail and then East Newport Drive on the other side.
Yep.
But you don't know how all that's going to be upgraded then.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to pick Joey's brain about that project earlier today. It come up as I was kind of filtering through and he had already left for the day. So I couldn't bug him about it, but I'll make sure I ask him and I can forward that information along, specifically what that project is.
Okay, and then just piggybacking on that, I have been reading that at the federal level, the U.S. Department of Transportation has been canceling bike trail projects in various communities across the country, saying that they don't align with the administration's priorities. And the administration wants to focus its efforts on motor vehicle traffic. And I don't know if have you gotten any letters about cancellations of bike trail projects here from the feds?
We haven't received anything for any of the projects that are actively programmed or planned. No changes in course at this moment. Certainly, priorities can change and decisions can change, on a dime. So we'll certainly keep an ear out for anything that may come that way. But yeah, to this moment, we haven't received anything or any notification from USDOT.
I think the bike trail projects that are kind of in their infancy are the ones most at risk of being canceled.
I think that's more likely the case. And, I think one example for us that has been impacted with the federal administration changes, we applied to the Reconnecting Communities program last December to take a look at the Madison Avenue Expressway, see if there's a better way that we can manage that facility, really just kind of do a feasibility study. In January, we were notified that we were awarded those funds, but we have yet to start the process to get under a grant agreement with USDOT to actually receive that funding and initiate that project. It is technically still in review. That project, we haven't been notified that project is canceled or our award has been rescinded. So we're still just awaiting guidance. And I think we're just kind of caught in that administrative limbo until they can kind of sort out what their priorities and their direction is. But
Well, I think the administration in Washington is against road diets. I've been reading that too.
yep, there's certainly some language barriers now that we have to kind of navigate as we're talking about projects and helping find solutions for our communities. Yeah, certainly presents a whole new set of problems that we have to find answers for.
Why would they be
What
opposed
did
to
you say?
rec?
Road what?
Road diets, DIET.
They narrow the roads. They make us, why would they be opposed to that?
Oh, that's what.
Because they want to encourage motor vehicle traffic, to facilitate motor vehicle traffic as much as possible.
So all of these projects, the information listed here, yeah, go for it.
Fixed Route 35, is that foot transit? Is that a transit bus?
So I'll flip through. All of these have their own slide where they detail out the individual kind of numbers and figures here. And there's also a brief description like this one, Pete. There isn't a specific location listed in Joey's description here, but I'll make sure I follow up with that. But yeah, if we go to the transit project, this is for 3 conversions of diesel buses to battery electric buses. So yeah, in what this, these tables are showing is essentially the amount of funding requested, how much local match each of these projects has, what the total project cost is. And what we're able to do is that we can confirm as the Metropolitan Planning Organization that these projects with these budgeted amounts fit into our budget for what is typically allocated through the CMAQ program to our district. It's a weird way to say that we're not guaranteed any money. However, what is generally awarded to our area, these projects fit within a reasonable range of what's typical. And that's why we kind of bundle these projects in this way and send them down to the state for consent.
WRTA requesting this conversion.
Correct, yes.
In the paper a number of weeks ago, they reported they had one that wouldn't work and they had it in storage.
Oh, really?
So why buy 3 others?
These are a few years out, so this wouldn't be until, gosh, 29 or 30.
Maybe
Oh,
they
yeah,
get the other
29.
one
Yeah.
working by then.
Yeah.
Well, the one that's in storage, as I understand it, is the autonomous, semi-autonomous shuttle bus for downtown and YSU.
That's the second one. WRTA stated in the paper that they had one that didn't work out in storage.
Now, we had a presentation on the transit. Are they still considering redoing the building and that proposal that's going forward?
Yeah, I believe.
As of when? When are they going to start on that project?
I don't believe they have the funding for construction.
Oh, okay.
So they're still in the design process of that. I think
I see.
once design concludes, they'll start ramping up seeking funds
So
to
that's
actually,
way down the road.
yeah, I wouldn't look around the corner.
Don't dream on that.
Yeah. That's a big job. So what's coming up next for these CMAQ projects? In September, the list of applications was received and sent down to the committee. This month, those projects are going to be reviewed down at the state. They have an October meeting where their committee comes together. We'll have representation there to make sure that our projects are accurately represented. And then in January is when we'll find out about funding. So not too far away that we'll find about these few projects for CMAQ funding. And of course, as always, Joey is great with all of this information. If you ever have questions, he's a great resource. The next topic that was talked about is a program that I very much enjoy. Under our programs tab, regional planning, you can find a link to our planning grant page. This is managed by Tricia. And our planning grant is a program that we run where we take a portion of the funds that pay for our planning services, so the technical assistance that we provide to all the local communities. And we set that aside right at the top of the year. And we kind of do this so that we can allow our local communities access to those funds to procure planning services through a consultant. Because we know that many of our communities don't have planning departments, they don't have planners on staff, they don't necessarily have extra cash laying around to do these types of activities. So we make some funding available for communities to apply to us, say, hey, we're interested in looking into this. We need this much cash to make it happen. Does it work? And then we review all the applications we get and we select what we can to make possible. The fun thing about the planning grant this year is that we're opening up kind of what's eligible in terms of types of projects. Not to say that these projects wouldn't have been eligible in the past, but since we have this new interest in housing, and there is language in the federal transportation legislation that allows us to look at housing as it relates to the transportation impact, we can do some housing related planning work through this program. That means looking at zoning or permitting policies or development processes in your community. So with that said, we have a planning grant program guide on the webpage that is updated, has all of the information about this program, what its purpose is, what it can be used for. And then I will scroll to another area that's kind of helpful. Also got a timeline in here. So applications don't open for another couple weeks, October 20th, and applications will be due December 19th. So kind of a 2-month period for communities to get some ideas in. They could always reach out to either myself or Tricia directly for help kind of crafting their idea. What I think could be helpful for you all is if you have a connection to a city council person, township trustee, and you have ideas yourself for things that you think your community should plan for, this is a great opportunity for a community to take a look at a small section of a community and really kind of dig in and do some good work. I know, Pete, I've shared your idea with the Fifth Ward council person numerous times. Unfortunately, it's never made it across our desk for this program, but
You're talking about the making Cornersburg more pedestrian friendly?
Yeah.
Well, now you've got a Kirkmere project listed there. What's that about it? I know they put in new playground equipment at Kirkmere Park. What else is happening over there?
I'm not sure. I think that might have been part of the city's ARPA commitment to parks.
I know they put in a lot of new curb cuts, especially near schools.
Yep.
And that might have been with the ARP money, right?
That was either through ARP or Safe Routes to Schools, which is an ODOT run program through kind of their safety section, specific to, I think, within a mile or a mile and a half of schools. You can apply for funding to.
And we have a lot of schools over there. I mean, you got St. Christine, you got Kirkmere Elementary. I think the former Volney is
Cheney Middle School now.
It's Cheney Middle School.
Yep.
And then you got, it's an MLK that's further north on Shenley.
Yeah, is that?
What is that? It's an elementary school.
That's the new McGuffey.
McGuffey, okay. So
Change the name so often. It's like.
you got 4 schools. You got 4 schools there along Shenley.
Yep.
So you better not get caught speeding by the cameras there. You might get multiple tickets.
That's right. School's in session.
Especially during school entry and departure hours.
So yeah, planning grant is one of my favorite programs that we have. It's the small program that could. I wish we could blow it up and make it the biggest thing we do. Unfortunately, resources are constrained, and maybe one day we'll get there. But I really love this program. It's one that I personally worked on in the past, and I'm happy to see where Tricia's kind of taken it and the direction she's moved with it. But yeah, October 20th, applications will open up, and excited to see what comes through this year. Next up is Clean Ohio. So the Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Program, this is one that Stephanie Dyer of our office, our environmental program manager, operates. We are currently in round 20 of this program. This is also linked to the Ohio Public Works program that Ed operates. There's a kind of vague connection there, but this one is solely focused on green space conservation as well as environmental improvements. So you can go in and repair streams and things of that nature. Thing to note here is our available funds are like $3.7 million. We only had 1.8 million in request. So a lot of money left over. That just rolls over into the next round. So we can start to fund some major projects in the coming years. But this year, these were the 3 projects in alphabetical order that we received. Mill Creek Metro Parks, Egypt Swamp, Trumbull County Metro Parks, Braceville Nature Preserve, and Western Reserve Land Conservancy, Colberg Lake. So first up is Mill Creek's Egypt Swamp improvements. This is actually property that Mill Creek Metro Parks came to Clean Ohio to purchase the property for in 2013. Then that enables them to come back later on and apply for funds to do improvement projects there. It's an incredible program that allows you to do both, acquire property and do improvements. Amazing. So what they're planning on doing here is an installation of an aggregate parking lot, some trail improvements with educational signage and wayfinding, as well as some ecological restoration. So these funds are eligible for invasive species removal one time. So you can go in, do a great job at removing the invasives, plant your native species to hopefully take root. And then they're also planning on doing some wetland and floodplain restoration. This is a $150,000 project, and they're applying for $112,500 through Clean Ohio. Next up is from Trumbull County Metro Parks. So up in Braceville Township, they want to do a nature preserve extension. They're looking to acquire 261 acres in Braceville Township, just off of the Mahoning River. This will protect 2,655 linear feet of Mahoning River riparian corridor and 13 Category 3 wetlands, which are like the premier gold standard wetland, the highest value that you could possibly have. The area is mostly mature forest. There is a floodplain portion of the property that on the southeast side, there are kind of those light blue areas that look a little bit like lakes. Those are oxbow habitats, incredible for your macroinvertebrates and your aquatic ecosystem. And this project actually was identified in one of our non-point source implementation strategy plans. Long word for what we used to call watershed plans, way more straightforward. But this location, this property was identified there as critical area for protection and conservation. So happy to see Trumbull County embrace this and want to pursue it. The total project cost is just over $1 million. They're coming to Clean Ohio for $527,000. They also received funding through the state of Ohio's H2 Ohio Rivers program that can help pay for this acquisition here.
Is the stream Eagle Creek there?
That's a great question.
Most likely, I think.
It might be, yeah.
Now, those oxbow lakes are actually abandoned meanders in a stream.
Mhm.
You can see where the stream used to meander.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely fascinating project. Love to see stuff like that come through. And this one, not too dissimilar. So this is from the Western Reserve Land Conservancy around Colberg Lake. This has been an area of concern for quite some time. Obviously, there's some issues with the dam there. This project it's here does not address the dam itself. That's kind of being worked on separately and to come into the future. But this is acquiring property surrounding the lake as well as extending northward to include a lot of the headwater streams, which are really critical again for an aquatic ecosystem. 8,000 linear feet of Little Yankee Run will be protected, as well as 9 Category 3 wetlands. So again, those gold standard ones are present here. This will also protect some floodplain forest and will be owned and managed by the Land Conservancy, which is important because prior to this, this land was all privately held, privately owned. The property owners in this area could not actually access Colbert Lake because it would technically be trespassing, right? Part of Clean Ohio Conservation Fund is that you have to have public access to properties purchased with these funds. So this will enable the community nearby to access Colbert Lake, and continue to make the effort to repair that dam to make sure that that asset kind of remains there.
What does the community want to access the lake for? Fishing or boating?
I think, yeah, just some light recreation. I don't think anything too heavy goes on there.
Just enjoying the natural.
Yeah, that Colberg Lake used to be a Youngstown sheet and tube resort.
Yep.
For their employees, for fishing and boating. And I guess they had some activity pavilions there. So the Colberg Lake, the one in Braceville and the Egypt Swamp, are those all still pending approval, or have they been approved?
Yep. So the Natural Resource Assistance Council, who is the decision-making body for the Clean Ohio program, will meet October 22nd to score and vote on these projects. So we'll find out very soon if all three of these are approved. Really, because we have more money than what was requested, all three of these projects should be funded, barring any kind of restrictions for eligibility. So that's what that group will meet and really kind of dig into the specifics of the projects to make sure that what's being requested is in alignment with what's eligible for the funding.
So this is a local approval board.
Correct. Yep.
On the invasive species that you managed, one interesting thing that I saw over in Highland Park in Pittsburgh, they actually hired a company that brings out goats, and the goats are protected by a donkey,
Yep.
right? And all their activity happens behind a fence. So there's a fenced-in area at Highland Park in Pittsburgh where the goats graze and eliminate the invasive species. And I wonder if that's something that can be adopted here, or if
They
it'd
did
be
that in Sharon
too
for
expensive.
2 years. It cost them $3,000. They had a group of volunteers monitoring the goats. I was one of them. And they do have the burrow. It kind of looks after the herd of goats. And the goats were there for, I think, 3 or 4 weeks.
Were they effective?
Yes, they'll eat everything.
They're indiscriminate eaters. They don't care.
This was at Buell Park?
No, downtown.
Of course, you can
Sharon
describe
along
me
the
that way.
river,
but that's another story.
From the State Street Bridge south about, I don't know, a mile, half a mile, something like that. Are you familiar with the apartments along the river, the Connolly building, and that's
Yes, yeah.
in that area? It went from State Street Bridge, or yeah, down toward there, about maybe 3/4 of a mile. And they were very effective.
And not that costly
The number I heard was $3,000
a year.
for the session. No, they're not there all year. They're only there for about 3 or 4 weeks.
That's not bad. And maybe
There's
that's.
a website called Goatscape.
Mhm.
You can go there and they'll tell you all about it. If you want to rent the goats, you can do that.
Maybe Mill Creek Park can use them in confined spaces where they want to eliminate invasive species.
You could do that, but you have to fence off the area, and you have to have people come in and tend the goats periodically to make sure they're not lame or missing or anything like that.
Yeah.
They will eat right out of your hand if you want to feed them.
Fun stuff.
Nature take.
Yeah.
I love that. That was a lot of fun.
Kind of a hard pivot. Safety funding. So Grant Taylor, who does a tremendous job with our safety data and helping our communities understand their transportation safety needs, put together this presentation covering a couple of different areas. Wanted to talk about funding. So he highlighted a few different funding opportunities. There's the formal safety application that goes through the state of Ohio. ODOT also has an abbreviated safety application for smaller type projects. And then they have two different systemic safety programs, one focused on pedestrians and one focused on roadway departures. For the formal safety projects, these are projects between $500,000 and $6 million with a 10% match. That match actually can be reduced in areas that face economic distress. One caveat on that is that there's no formal definition set by ODOT on what economic distress means for this program. It's more of kind of a conversation with them, reviewing data, seeing if it meets a threshold that they determine to be eligible for a reduction in that local match. So something we can certainly help community process with and work with the district. Another kind of a weird quirk about all four of these programs here is that this funding is through ODOT. It doesn't come through us. A community doesn't even have to talk to us. If they want this funding, they can do it all themselves. However, a community cannot be the applicant. It has to be an ODOT district. So our ODOT district from Mahoning and Trumbull counties is District 4. So a community would have to go to ODOT District 4 to have them apply to ODOT central office for this funding. Weird flow of how this has to work. It's just a quirk of how the programs were established, but something that we certainly help them proceed with and process with. All of these funding programs have their little quirks and their little differences. So it's nice for communities to be able to come to us and us to help give them the pathway on where to go. But you'll see two deadlines. They do this twice a year to receive applications, March 31st and August 31st. So with one having just passed not too long ago, it's a great time for communities to start talking to us again about that March application deadline and getting projects developed. A minimum of 3 crashes per year with a 30% injury rate. And we can look at either 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years of data to kind of massage it to make that threshold work. The abbreviated safety application happens 4 times a year. They give communities a few different opportunities, and these are for projects less than $600,000. Really, these are the simpler of projects. So these are changing your road markings, like if you're just restriping a road to fix a safety issue. If you're adding crosswalks at intersections, really anything where you don't have to acquire new right-of-way, because that always extends the timeline of projects. These should be quicker, faster, and cheaper solutions. There are sets of proven safety countermeasures that ODOT makes available that they typically recommend for these types of projects. And that's an area where Grant is actually going to put together some webinars for our local communities focused on those specific countermeasures, help providing information on most appropriate ways to implement them, where they're most likely to be successful, and how projects can be designed around that. And then the systemic safety, these are larger projects to a degree. This pedestrian one is $2 million. The roadway departure one is $5 million. These can cover multiple locations. So these are designed for a community to look at their entire geography and identify locations that all have a similar issue. Maybe there are a lot of roads with really severe curves. So there's additional signage that needs to be put in, or maybe rumble strips, those types of things. And you can do that across an entire community. That's how you kind of build up the larger project here. And these are ones where Grant's able to pull data to actually identify areas that are at risk of systemic safety issues. Tremendous. Based on just the roadway attributes that we have in our data, he's able to kind of pull that information out and help our communities kind of develop these ideas. Another thing he highlighted are other sources of funding. We had talked about Safe Routes to Schools a little bit. That same program also has assistance to develop active transportation plans or school travel plans. Either one of those documents will make a community eligible for Safe Routes to School funding. And ODOT's always there to help make those possible. There's also a grant program for safety signage. That one has a few quirks. You can only apply so frequently. If you apply and get funded, you have to wait a certain amount of years before you can apply again. And then the last one there is a grade crossing elimination program that helps for railroad crossings that are problematic and maybe a safety issue. There's funding for that as well. Another thing he talked about is one of the resolutions that's in the packet. I believe it is resolution 34. Is every year we come back, ODOT comes to us and asks us to approve the safety performance targets that they establish. And for the last several years, ODOT's stuck with a 2% reduction in all 5 categories of crashes. So you can see how those play out based on the baseline data for 2024 that we have. So this is just our affirming of ODOT's safety target goal. We tend not to stray from their goal because their goal encompasses our region. So our data plays into their data. As long as our targets match, we feel that we're helping project them in a positive direction in the way that they're planning. So we tend to match what their performance targets are. This is a routine resolution that we bring before our board every year. A couple other things safety related. So there were some presentations to the statewide committee for some local safety projects. This first one is in Mahoning County at State Route 45 and Palmyra Road. Kind of a weird askew intersection that you could see in the bottom right picture there, where Palmyra Road is coming into 45 at an angle. There is a proposed project for a roundabout installation there to alleviate that odd angle. It helps with kind of some site angles and keeping traffic flow safer through that intersection. This project is about $3.7 million. So this was presented to a committee, just yesterday. Same with these next 2 projects. This one is also in Mahoning County, State Route 46 and State Route 165. Again, another askew intersection that just makes kind of navigating that pretty challenging. The proposal here is for a roundabout as well. This project a little bit more because there's a bit of right-of-way involved, $4.8 million. And then this last project, Trumbull County State Route 82 at Niles Vienna Road. So this is one of those sections on 82 where there is a road crossing that crosses the divided highway section. No signal there, very dangerous. And the solution that's proposed here is what's called an R-cut. So it reduces the ability to go straight through that intersection. It actually requires you to turn right and then kind of channels you around if you need to go in the left direction. A lot safer of a situation. It helps kind of channelize the flow of traffic a little better while cutting off the kind of direct crossing across a 4-lane divided highway. This was, we had a representative from ODOT at our technical advisory committee earlier today. And she had shared with us that this was the #1 project across the entire state, safety-wise. So we feel pretty confident that this will be funded just with that kind of feedback that we received earlier today. But happy to see that this gets addressed. This location in particular, the intersection, as well as the segment just to the west of that intersection is on our safety priority list. So it's nice to see projects like this come along where we can start checking those off the list and kind of avoiding these dangerous situations. And I will show off one more safety related thing that wasn't in the presentation because it's on our website and it's perhaps one of the coolest things that we have going. So programs, transportation, safety planning overview. have to navigate a little bit, but there's this button at the top that says view the safety site. And this is something that Grant built as a way to kind of just keep all of our safety related data kind of in one location. So there's a main page with some basic information. There's actually some instructions on how to use the site, if that's helpful. And then this document here is our comprehensive safety action plan. Really great information, covers just about everything. The real kind of power of the site here is in these tabs up top. There are a lot of interactive data. So these are our safety performance measures, tracking our safety performance across our region. You can see how many crashes we had for the year that's shown there, fatal crashes and fatalities. And there are a difference in that metric, right? Because a fatal crash could have multiple people involved. So good to measure both of those data points. There's also filters here, so you could filter out the data if you're only interested in a specific kind of time period. You could change the slider, and all of these charts down here update along with it. If you're interested in a specific community, you're able to use these filters to kind of filter out the data. And again, that data will change when you change those filters. So super helpful tool here. Another tab that has crash location maps. There's a ton of data on this one. All of this is dynamic, so as you're zooming around the map, these are going to update as well, I believe. But these will give you information on each individual crash in the area. It's got all of the data that pops up in a nice pop-up box if you click on one that you're interested in. Up next, the safety priority locations. Like I mentioned, State Route 82 was one of them. This is how you can filter through all of those. There is a safety GIS data atlas. If you're way into this, you can look at the data in different ways. So you can select one of these maps, and then if this isn't enough data for you, you can go to this plus button and you can add more data to the maps to overlay data on top of each other to get more fine-grained control of how you're looking at it. Focused reports really are just kind of a repository for Grant. Anytime one of the communities, sorry, anytime a community comes to Grant and says, hey, we've been hearing a lot of kind of community chatter about this intersection or this segment of roadway. They're saying there's a lot of crashes there. Can you dig into the data and show kind of what's showing up in the data? He's able to put that together and send that over to them pretty easily. And this has kind of just been a repository for all of the ones that have come up to him over time. You'll see that as we scroll down, it continues to load and update. But he puts these reports together. It's a PDF. You click the button.
Is there a find feature where, like, if you wanted to put down Glenwood, that it will focus in on all the Glenwood ones?
Unfortunately, not for this page. These are just kind of as they come up. So you really kind of just have to read through. Not the easiest to maybe filter through, but kind of a tough one to find a good solution for. But there are these traffic reports that Grant generates. They have some summary level data, and then they really dig into location, crash by time period. They break out the data by all different sorts of metrics. So you can really dig in and pull out a lot of good information through these crash reports he's able to put together. There's also other tabs here. He's a part of both the Trumbull County and Mahoning County Safe Communities Group, which is a coalition of folks focused on transportation safety in each county. He puts together maps for those groups and uploads them to this section of the website. The last tab is just some general regional maps, some things that he's put together that he thinks may be useful to someone. And then the last little tab up top here is additional resources. These are just links to common sites that have more information. if you're really interested in digging in. Really powerful, lot of information here. But yeah, wanted to show that off. Last thing that was talked about at TAC was OPWC. I'm going to pull something up here real quickly. I won't spend too much time on it because it is a pretty big and like hard to look at spreadsheet. But our OPWC, the Ohio Public Works Commission, is a infrastructure funding program. There's a few different programs and funding sources that it has under its umbrella. We can have Ed come in again and talk about those specifically, but they just received their projects, their applications for funding. So Ed populates this spreadsheet, goes through and scores all of the criteria that is scorable from what is submitted in the application. And this is the very first pass at all the projects that are seeking OPWC funds. You can see in this category here, this is the grant request, $14.9 million, just shy of $15 million. There's some loan requests sitting around 3 million with $33 million in local commitment. So part of PWC is a local match. You get more points for the more local match you have. So that's why we see a pretty sizable local commitment for these applications. Unfortunately, we can't fund all $15 million of this, but there is a committee similar to with Clean Ohio, a local committee that comes together, reviews all these projects. They have a few more categories that they assign points to. Once those points are assigned, we'll start to see where those projects fall and how they rank against each other. Then Ed will work with the state to determine how much money is available for this round. He'll set the line for what gets cut off. And then we can help those communities that are below the line and possibly not getting funded this round to seek other ways to make their project successful.
Now, is Ed also looking at possibilities of keeping certain traffic lights right where they are, but maybe changing the timing and the sequencing to make things safer at the intersection without spending a lot of money?
Not through Ed's program, not through OPWC, but that is something that we can look at through some of the transportation or the safety programs. Those types of projects are eligible, sometimes even through CMAQ, like 100% funding.
And it may be as simple as just somebody making a brief adjustments. It might not cost anything if you've got the traffic engineering staff or on duty. I'll give you a real quick example here. You know where Arden Boulevard meets Canfield Road. That is a T intersection, and it is the end of State Route 625 right there. You know, if you're coming up Arden Boulevard, you're on 625.
Yep.
If you're on Canfield Road, it's US Route 62. Now, what happens is if you are northbound on Arden Boulevard and you want to make a left turn to go west on Canfield Road, you better wait a couple of seconds because there's a lot of motorists who are westbound that just blow right through there as the light is changing. And they're westbound on Canfield Road and they just go flying through there. And to avoid an accident, after that light changes to green in your favor, you better sit and wait for at least 2 seconds before you make that left turn from Arden Boulevard to go west on Canfield Road, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If I've said that correctly.
Yep.
Have you experienced that?
I have, yeah.
So why don't we just, maybe we can work with Chuck Shasho and we can have him change the sequencing, or maybe there's some adjustments you can make like that. It may not cost a dime.
Mhm.
I mean, I emailed him one time, I think it was about 10 years ago. I said, hey, you know, you got this intersection totally on flashers overnight from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. I said, you gotta take it off flashers and have those lights turn red and green starting at 6 AM because the school buses are out there shortly after 6. And he made that change.
Nice.
So, you know, sometimes they listen when you ask
Yeah, absolutely.
and they act.
Yeah. One other cool thing with OPWC this year, brand new, Jeff Gullner, who does our GIS data and mapping, remarkable. There's no other district in the state of Ohio that has this level of data on our OPWC projects. He took all of those applications that came in, mapped them, and scanned all of those applications. So you can go to this site, and I'll make sure everybody has this link to play around with it because it's just so cool. You can pick a project, and on that left-hand side, you'll see it pop up with Adobe there. You'll have to close this little comments box here, and you can play with the zoom so you could actually read it because it is pretty small. But these are the actual applications that people submitted for funding to OPWC. So if you're interested to see what your communities are applying for, what type of work goes into seeking funding, you're able to click on this project, go through, see all of the detail, see all the information that they had to send in, what they had to put together for their project. Really remarkable. If you want to unselect it, you just click the same project that you did. It kind of will zoom out, refresh. You can see these numbers here will update as you're filtering. Again, there's these filters where you can filter by community. So if you're interested to see what Austintown Township has put in this year, you can see that they're seeking 150,000 in grant dollars with 425,000 in local commitment. You can see all of the roads that they're looking to do through their paving program. You can click on their, application and see it right there for you. So really powerful tool that makes a lot of data available that really wasn't available before. A lot of this was just kind of strictly in paper form that, we make available to the committee for them to review. But open and available, to everyone to kind of play around with. So really fun kind of tool that's brand new and I think pretty unique around the state. I don't know that anybody has something like this. So I find that fascinating. One last thing that I want to show off, it wasn't at TAC, but something pretty important, and it's one of our foundational kind of documents, is our comprehensive economic development strategy. So every 5 years, we have to update this document as an economic development district through the U.S. Economic Development Administration. This is the core thing that we are required to maintain. So this is kind of the core strategy for economic development for our region. So Mahoning, Trumbull, and Ashtabula counties are all incorporated into this. And really what the big crux of this is that there's a SEDS advisory council that meets and goes over kind of the prior SEDS, takes a look at what some of the existing conditions are. They run through a SWOT analysis to identify strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And all of that's kind of recorded in this document. So you can see that there's, some maps that detail some of the thing, but yeah, a lot of good background data. That SWOT analysis, I think, is pretty enlightening for, what some of the economic development professionals in the region, see coming. Then we set kind of the strategic direction of where the region should go. We put together some sort of an action plan. And really what all this leads to is we want to set a foundation so that if an entity that is eligible for applying to USEDA for funding has an idea, we can fit it into a framework that is efficient and productive in terms of economic development. We want to see jobs created, we want to see jobs retained, and we want to make sure that we can develop projects that are either focused on infrastructure or equipment or site preparation that can be taken to USEDA and say, hey, like this project would lead to the creation of this many jobs or the retention of this many jobs. It would lead to this estimated amount of capitalized investment on the back end. And that's really what this document does, is it lays the foundation for those projects to be developed and then seek funding afterwards. So where the status of this is currently, on the first page, you'll see it says draft in big red letters. It is submitted to USEDA for final review and approval before we can kind of roll it out and say, hey, like drop the confetti from the ceiling. This is final and done. Unfortunately, USEDA is maybe a little slow to look at things at the moment because of the shutdown in DC. But we're certain that, you know, within reason, we'll hear back eventually that this plan is accepted and finalized and we can run with it. But definitely just wanted to bring that up, make sure that that was kind of highlighted here. Any other questions about anything else we do? I wanted to kind of take this as an opportunity to kind of scattershot a bunch of the stuff that we work on, rather than just kind of digging into the details on any one particular thing.
That SEDS program was, you know, like say for the Port Authority, we had in there for, as far as the Port Authority goes, we had aviation education projects. So we got the grant, as you know, we got the grant to do planning up at the airport and all different facets of it. And one of the things that our grant for the for our strategy was to create new aviation related jobs, whether it be maintenance and repair and operation, or whether they're flight school. So we took that, we put an application in for construction. Now we're constructing a multi-use building. One's going to expand PIA so they can accept another 50 to 55 students for an 18-month period. And the other one is where we're going to house our flight school that we just collaboration with YSU. So we'll be able to take maybe about anywhere from 16 to 20 students per like 4-month period at a time. And that all became because of something that was entered into the, reflected in the SEDS.
Yeah, if you're familiar with the Golden Triangle area in like Warren, Howland, there were some infrastructure improvements in that area regarding truck turning radiuses and upgrading the roadway surfaces to be able to manage kind of the heavy load truck traffic. That was all done through EDA. Over in like the Bailey Road area in Mahoning County and like North Jackson, they received an EDA grant that they're actually just starting the construction process on for some upgrades over that way. So this program is really effective for helping kind of solve some issues more related to kind of industrial development and things like that. But certainly kind of some site improvements for.
And in certain years, you know more than what I do, but there's more money available in certain years than in other years. And there's more, sometimes there's more money than projects.
Yeah, it's pretty routine that we'll get contacted by our EDA rep and he'll say, we have X amount of dollars. Do you have a project ready? And, you know, having this document and these relationships built with our local communities, we can go to them and say, hey, what do you have on the table? Let's get it in. That's how the Port Authorities happened. They had less than a week, I think, to put the application together, which
It took a weekend.
yeah. I don't know if anybody slept that worked on that project. But it works out, so it's good.
Okay. While you're on your presentation, do you want to go over the last two resolutions for the two for the tip?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So resolution 37, amending the tip to move some funds around from preliminary engineering and detailed design to the construction phase on West Fifth Street in Beloit. And then resolution 40 is amending the tip to revise some funding amounts for the 8076 rehabilitation project. These are, we get these requests from ODOT. They're initiated from the state when funding is changing for a project. So pretty routine. It's more a formality so that our records and our board approvals match the reality of what is happening with the project. So as projects are going through the project development process, you're moving activities from one phase to another. Maybe funding amounts are coming in different when you're going out to bid. So we'll routinely see some of these changes, and those two resolutions are just pretty routine changes.
For our efforts to attract membership, Justin and he sent us out an email, authored a media release. We're gonna get that out. I know some groups that were gonna help us put these out on social sites. But he has copies there, but he also attached it to our email as well. He also has attached our all the Eastgate's board meetings for the next 3 years. We have those set. On the website is the applications for all existing members and anybody, you know, new members to re-up their application for being on this board. And then I think we're gonna start it in November to start the vote on our leadership for beginning in 2026.
Correct.
So we'll do that at the next board meeting.
Yeah, if you haven't filled out the form for membership for next year, make sure to do that. The link is in the agenda. It'll be in the follow-up. Be sure to do that.
And then right after the November meeting, we can start accepting votes.
Yeah, the January meeting will do
Calculation.
election of officer.
Yep. Outside of that, is there any questions or comments?
I have one other thing, and it's I provided it over on the table there, and for anyone online, I'll make sure to follow up in email. A couple months ago, we had talked about the handbook, and I shared that it was 27 pages. I promised you that I would pare that down and simplify it. I've gotten it down to 6, and one of those is a cover page, and another is a table of contents. So I hope I've made good on simplifying it for you all. Please read through it. Let me know what you think. If you like it, if you hate it, I won't take offense to anything at all. If you think that we need some more meat in some areas and the pared down version is good in others, let me know. Genuinely, this can take whatever form we want. But I wanted to make sure we got this before the end of the year so that as we're going into next year and like maybe we get some new folks on board, I wanted to have at least something we could run with that at least partially represents how we operate. But yeah, happy to finally get this to this format. It's been a long time coming, I know. But yeah, please let me know what you think. If you're happy with
We'll put
it.
that on the agenda for next month.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you ever get a response from that letter to Mr. Vodenberg?
No formal direct response that we've received. However, just in some conversations, I think, how do I put this the most diplomatically possible? We understand that decisions get made that may not be in alignment with priorities of the folks that are administering certain work. I think that's the situation at hand. For anybody that is curious, Broadband Ohio released their plan for the BEAD funding, the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment. These are federal funds that are passed down to the states to connect everybody in the state to internet. We've been doing broadband projects in our counties over the last couple of years. Both the Mahoning and Trumbull County commissioners committed some of their ARPA funds to do projects. Those are currently in construction right now. Up in Ashtabula County, we were able to capture ARC Power funds, $2.5 million to do a fiber deployment project up there. We were working with Broadband Ohio, which is the state's broadband office, related to the BEAD funding. And over the past few years, it was communicated to us from their office that whatever we couldn't do with our broadband projects, they would make sure that BEAD filled the gap. And their priority was always fiber first, because it is the gold standard technology for deploying internet infrastructure. It will keep up its future-proof, at least to what we know, at least for the next 10 years. And it, especially in Appalachia, in places with topography and dense forest, we know that fixed wireless solutions, which are ones that are mounted to kind of radio towers and things of that nature, just can't penetrate, get around the topography or the vegetation. We also know that satellite faces those same issues. You have to have a 110-degree view shed in order to get your satellite connection. If you've got trees, almost an impossibility. So with that, they released their BEAD funding plan. They were allocated $750 million. Their BEAD plan only commits $250 million, leaving $500 million uncommitted, which presumably is going to be returned to the federal government. And a majority of their decisions were to make awards of the funding that they did commit to satellite internet providers, which we think is a grave misstep and is not going to actually meet the need that exists. So we drafted a letter with the help of our broadband consultant to send to Broadband Ohio's office, expressing our concerns, urging them to reconsider and go back to their fiber first priorities as they had previously mentioned. But yeah, we have not received any. We received a response that they received the letter, but nothing of substance in terms of a response to it. So we'll see.
Any other comments? That, I think we'll adjourn for today. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.